We're back on the Drive-In Asylum double feature and still reeling from the effects of the hand in Demonoid. Menacing
Hand.
poor Samantha Eggar. The hand. What can we say about the hand?
Nora didn't like the hand.
She didn't.
No. She said
Didn't
it
like
was
it at
awful.
all.
She said it was worse than Damnation Alley, the hand.
I've been in much worse movies than Demonoid, Nora.
Have you seen
That's Samantha Eggar speaking through me.
Do you believe in the hand? Do you believe the hand exists?
The end of this movie. Here's my questions. How did the hand, one, how did it know her address? Two, how was it able to write out the slip to get there? It had to call someone. Like, this is not today. Today I'd buy it and get on the internet and it would send itself. Back then you had to call somebody, you had to go there and deliver it.
How did it pay for the shipping?
And then it
How much does it cost to send her a bong in the mail?
Yeah, and then it sends her a bong in the mail. And she's like, "Oh, that's love. I don't know who would send a kelp-covered bong, but oh well."
That's
And
class,
then,
by the way.
Yeah. And then she turns and it goes boing and it shoots itself. I love it. Great. It doesn't make any sense. Also, I love Mike talked earlier, like this movie feels way more 70s than 1981. The downer ending is a total 70s ending where it's like, we know you were with her the whole movie and we saw her escape, but she's dead. And then later the priest will call and be like, whatever happened to her? Oh, the hand killed her.
Oh.
And another thing too, I remember this, but it was so 70s with the music, the library music score that it used that was in The Incredible Melting Man and stuff. And at the beginning of the movie, remember you were like, "Oh, I really like this music," and I was like, "I know, it sounds like TV movie music, right?"
Yeah.
And I guess it was, but it was straight out of the 70s, and all those old like AMC like Matadors that they were driving and stuff were all very 1970s.
Yeah. And like the cars all look way too old. The buildings look kind of old. That, you know what though? Stuart Whitman has the best part because it's like, what do I get to do in this movie? Well, you get to destroy an altar. Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And you also get the box with a crucifix around your neck, which distracts.
He went total Norwegian death metal in that church.
Oh, he went nuts. It was really awesome. He was like, "I won't have it." And then he just picks up a candle and throws it at her.
So we were talking about this. I don't. Maybe we should have been watching closer or whatever. But I don't understand the hand's agenda.
I've watched this movie more than 20 times, Mike, and I will say that I do not understand the hand's agenda.
So if the hand wants to possess people, then how come the minute it possesses people, it's like, "Oh, nope, I have to get them to cut me off and make me free again so I can go possess someone else"? Is like the hand a commitment phobe or something?
Yeah,
like,
the hand's a guy. It's like it just wants conquest.
Right.
It's a user.
I mean, it's like, yeah, she was all right, but you know what? That other person I could be on there.
Next.
The hand is a total guy. It's like once it possesses you, it doesn't want you anymore.
Yeah,
it's all about the chase.
Yeah,
right.
As Lemmy said, the chase is better than the catch. That's what the hand. Maybe the hand wrote that song. But I do like that the hand sent like a gift before it killed her. Do you know what I mean? It's nice. It's like, hey, sorry I got water. It should have had a little note. Sorry I got water all over your house. And she goes, oh, that's fine. And then it does that.
And it was a bong too. I guess it wanted to. I hope it smoked with her at least before it did whatever it was going to do.
Before you die, you have to shotgun this onto my skin.
And so the hand wanted to kill her because her husband desecrated its underground lair or whatever or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe the hand was maybe it was in that box and it was at peace. And it had come to grips with the fact that, that some church had buried it. And then they let it loose. And now the hand's like, well, I guess. And I think the hand literally, it crawled in like two fingers like this, and it had the bong and this fingers. And you're like, I'd like to be mailed. Or did it possess the UPS guy? And I don't know.
It probably possessed somebody to fill out the slip for the package, and then it cut itself off and jumped into the box.
That's the movie we have to make. of just like a side story that Vinegar Syndrome puts this out on UHD. It's like how the hand got mailed.
Have you seen the Macabre cut?
No, I have to watch it now because I want to, and I'll report back of what is different.
Because I think I watched it, and I do remember that the music was kind of boring. Like it was more, it's more pulpy and fun with this like B movie music that they dubbed in. And I do remember there being more lines of dialogue with her being like really blasé about the, like, oh no, it must be that hand. Hold on, I'll take a shower and then we'll go after him or something. Like,
I'm not leaving this hotel until I've killed the hand.
She
And
doesn't
I think
really seem broken up about her husband dying that much. Like she gets over it real quick.
Can we talk about that for a minute?
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. She did not react the way that you would think somebody would react to that, especially since her husband was burned alive. He didn't just die of a heart attack.
If Becca came to my work and caught me blowing it up and then running to a casino and then with another woman winning money at a casino and then was burned alive, I would hope that she would not get with DB Sweeney within like a few days. I would hope that she would be not as broken up.
I think it had to do with his looks. Like we were talking earlier about how like they weren't they didn't look equally yoked. And if I had a husband that looked like that, I probably might get over his death quicker than if he looked like Maxwell Caulfield or something.
Well, the other thing that we didn't mention is Angela, the girl in the casino with her husband. That's Haji from Kill Faster Pussycat Kill. I assume she was probably living in Vegas at the time.
Kill Faster Pussycat Kill?
Oh, sorry. Faster Pussycat Kill. Sorry. Maybe I smoked in between.
Pussycat Kill.
It's the third segment. There's no telling what you'll hear here.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
It must have been the hand that possessed you.
The hand is actually behind my head, and it's like that Dead Silence movie.
Oh, it's that hand. The hand is messing with my lighting.
I did like the way that the hand was like was like from the Addams Family. Like it would run and then it would like jump on people's faces and attack them and like.
Boing.
Or
it'll knock you out if it's like right here. You can breathe through your nose.
Right.
But it'll just eventually knock you out.
I liked when it knocked the mannequin hand off of that like religious in the church and then just replace it with it. It was hiding in the robe.
That was like it was like, hey, check out this cute little trick.
Right.
The hand is playful in its murder.
He was sassy
and nice because he sends you a gift before he kills you.
Right.
I'm saying it. I don't mean to misgender the hand. The hand could be female or male.
The hand is a very mutable. Although I think
originally like a male. Well, it goes from person to person, and without any regard for their well-being. So
and it always seemed like at the very beginning, like they get this like petite little blonde woman, and they like chop off. It's sort of like how in Friday the 13th, how Mrs. Voorhees' hands suddenly become man hands when her head gets chopped off. It's like they chop off this blonde woman's hand, and suddenly the hand is like this big man hand that's crawling on the floor.
Her house.
Boobs in the first couple minutes.
You did, and that's the same actress that played the nurse later in the that place at the plastic surgery clinic. It's a very generic plastic surgery clinic that they'll just strap you down to a table with seatbelts and try to cut your hand off.
Yeah.
Right. Dustin's funny. We've got more bottom to scrape in this barrel.
I think it gets in a lot of what I want in a movie. That's why I like it. It's got old Vegas in it. It's got anti-religious themes. It's got a hand.
It has car chases that are obviously filmed in like the outskirts of Mexico City, but it's like supposed to be LA. It's like the only businesses in the background are like little like bodegas. And
how was there not a fruit cart destroyed during that scene? Like that scene was made for a fruit cart to come wheeled out, and it's not in it.
Well, it's like Ebert said that like whenever a fruit cart gets decimated in a movie, the ethnic owner has to come out and shake his fist at the departing car.
There was a lot of cars that went up on two wheels way easier than that really seems too. They're like whoever the stunt guy was like, I can do the 2-wheel thing. Like, well, okay, yeah, I guess we'll do that a bunch of times.
It was kind. You remember how all like live action Disney movies from the 70s would devolve into a car chase through Burbank in the final third? Like that's what this looked like. I feel like this. If these weren't outtakes from a Disney car chase, then whoever did the stunts or for those must have like come down to Mexico and did that.
They always sped them up to 1.5 speed in the Disney movies too. It always
right.
Like
and so you see background things happening really quick.
Yeah, and then then cut to the people in the car, obviously not in the chase, going, "Whoa!"
Well, and also
there's every Love Bug movie in one day, so it was a little traumatizing.
Yeah, I remember trying to show my grandma, my old Russian grandma, Freaky Friday, and by the third act, she's like, "It's giving me a headache. And why are they driving so fast?"
Didn't even get to the water.
Couldn't handle it.
No, I don't know.
I don't understand. It's the mother, and then it's the daughter, and then the mother again. Like,
Candle Shoe opens with a chase scene.
Candle Shoe.
That's the opening credits of Candle Shoe, is an extended Disney chase scene.
And that takes place in England, right?
But it starts in America.
I love movies where people like Watcher in the Woods, where people are like have random relatives who live in England or something, and they go and inherit like a manor. Carol Baker was in Watcher in the Woods.
That's right.
She sure is.
Yeah.
I love whenever Disney movies would do a double feature at the drive-in, and you'd start with the Rescuers or something, and be like, "Oh, I'm like 8." I'm like, "Cool, it's a cartoon," and then the second one's live action, and I would just check the fuck out. I'd be like, "Well, time like 4th Avenue Irregulars," or I'm trying to think of another bad Disney.
$1 Million Duck.
$1 Million Duck. Apple Dumpling Gang returns. Like one of those ones, and I'd be like, "Oh, I don't like this at all." So.
Yeah, they would always have them on, like when I was a kid. Well, we're all the same age. You remember how they had those big clamshell Disney, and the artwork on the front would always just be a still from the movie. It would always be something really dumb, and like parents would always think that if it had Disney on it, that it would be entertaining, and they'd rent us these like my friends' parents would rent these really like long forgotten live action Disney movies starring the most random people that like. I still want to kind of like go back and revisit those sometime.
There's like Darby O'Gill and the Little People and those ones, right? Like that's like the high watermark for those. It's like the other ones are kind of like derivative of that movie,
Yeah. I always like Darby O'Gill, but that's because I have a Sean Connery fetish.
Yes. So that works for you.
Sean Connery's too sexy to be in a kid's movie. It's like having like I don't know, like who's a woman that's just like too sexy? Like she couldn't be in a family film because just her presence. Yeah, something like that, or something, or like maybe like Angelina Jolie. Like there's something about like some actors are just so sexual and so kind of lascivious that like just their presence evokes so much sex appeal that it's like it's not cool for children.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that maybe. I'm trying to think who the female version of that would be. What's her name? I have someone in mind. I have to look up to see. Oh, for me, it would be like Monica Bellucci, where it'd be like, this can't work.
Right. Monica Bellucci is playing like somebody's mom in like a Freaky Friday sequel, and you're like,
yeah. I like in Brotherhood of the Wolf, the Monica Bellucci movie, where there's literally a scene where she's in bed with the lead character and the camera glides over her breast and they turn into mountains. And we cut to the next shot with logs. Like when it happened in the theater, I couldn't stop.
That's a classy cut.
I was like, "What? This is the best match cut I've ever seen."
So, what are some other crawling hand movies that are good?
The Hand.
Is it good though?
No. Oliver Stone wrote it though. That doesn't make it good?
He directed it too, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he directed it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not crazy about The Hand, although it might have just been me as a kid wanting more horror in it.
Yeah.
More.
And now The Screaming starts. That
Yes.
was a killer hand movie.
Yes.
Yeah. Idle Hands. And
remember the Eye Creatures?
Oh yeah.
Do you guys remember that movie? It was always on TV, and it was a remake of Invasion of the Saucer Men.
Oh yeah,
it
but
was,
did Larry Buchanan make it?
yes.
Larry Buchanan had like free reign to remake all of old AIP movies as TV movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he did like a she creature remake and yeah.
There's the Devil's Hand, the Jacques Tourneur movie, and The Beast with Five Fingers, Evil Dead 2. How can we forget? I mean, that's a big chunk of Evil Dead.
There was a movie,
and
I used to see a movie on TV all the time as a kid called Curse of the Stone Hand, which was not about a killer hand, but there was hands featured prominently in it.
Oh, in Dr. Terror's House of Horror, there's the scene where Christopher Lee cuts an artist's hand off,
Mm-hmm.
and then the hand keeps coming back and haunting him. That's another one.
The severed arm. I don't think that counts because there was no arm. Like it wasn't the arm that was killing people in the severed arm. It was a person, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember any crawling limb moments in this.
We're gonna make a sequel to Demonoid, which is about the demon's foot, and it's just a foot hopping around. I think that's more frightening. I think feet are grosser and more frightening than hands. So I think that would be very scary.
Well, Asylum.
Asylum, yeah.
Sorry, I stepped on you. I was thinking of her hand wrapped up in the plastic.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Or wrapping paper, freezer paper.
Yeah. Yeah, so the hand works, and the hand's frightening being cut away from the body. And this, The Exterminating Angels, another movie, the Spanish, Mexican, one of these countries, the Mexican film. There's a woman gets killed by a severed hand in that movie, but it's not as much horror as just surrealism. But there's a severed hand death in that movie too.
I thought of another one where there's a big severed hand moment at the end of the movie. It's from a high profile franchise that is going to have the latest installment coming out very soon, but it was a much derided third installment that had nothing to do with the rest of the plot line of the franchise.
Halloween 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a hand in Halloween 3?
Yes.
Yeah, it's off her body and it does it. Yeah.
Oh.
She comes apart at the end, and there's, for some reason, her hand, I think it's her whole arm, but it counts, damn it.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I want to see this hand getting itself into a box, tying the ribbon to get into the box.
What I love is that, and it brought the seaweed with it too.
Yeah.
It was
that's what I like. It's like it put the seaweed in. She's like, I wouldn't do that. And did it send a similar package to the priest, or is the priest just out of the picture now? He's like, I didn't want to kill a man of God. I already made him cut his own hand off, and that's fine. I did enough to him, and he'll never box again. And I just wanted Samantha Egger.
And then and then seriously, like once it kills her, it's like, and now what?
Yeah, is it
like?
done?
Is it? Yeah, it's just gonna be like, okay.
What I want to know is, does she die at the end of the alternate version?
I think the alternate version just doesn't have that scene. I think it just ends with them dumping the ashes in the water, and then it. Because the demonoid, they put in the scene at the beginning with the girl getting her hand chopped off, and they put in that post credits thing, and I think it was just because they could. I think also Mexico is a little bit more. Like they had a little bit stricter censorship, and so they all the murders and stuff were more graphic in the American version.
Yeah. Hey, Wally.
Wally, nice of you to make an appearance.
Dotson's point. What if the hand crossed over the top? They'd have to get the strap out and strap the hand to Hawk's hand, so that he would do one last battle with the hand. I would love that.
That would be cheating.
Yeah. How would you put the hand down? It doesn't have an elbow. How's it on the table?
Oh, I thought you meant somebody would attach the hand to their body to win at arm wrestling.
Oh, well, that's even better.
Sylvester Stallone reveals how it really happened. It's like, I got this hand.
The hand keeps possessing people in the arm wrestling contest to try to, because it wants Stallone, and Stallone has to keep beating it.
Was Over the Top a canon movie?
Yes, 100%. That's one of the movies that killed him, because they had to pay so much to Stallone. And, yeah. But they thought that was good. It's the typical canon thing where they're like, this is going to be the movie that this is the success, because arm wrestling is going to be hot, and
right. And it's like Lambada. It's like they're like, this is going to be a new, because I read your article about the two Lambada movies.
Yeah, on the same day. The Forbidden Dance is Lambada and Lambada. And there was a lawsuit, so they had to just call the Forbidden Dance the Forbidden Dance. Yeah. Also, Sean brought up Hands of Steel, the Sergio Martino movie. They shot that 50 miles away from Over the Top. And whenever the Italian crew found out, like, well, they're making an arm wrestling movie, they're like, we should put an arm wrestling scene in our movie, because every movie that comes out this summer is going to have an arm wrestling scene. So that's why there's an arm wrestling scene in that movie. Is
Hands of Steel the one where George Eastman is really cute and like wearing this little blue tank top? And he's George Eastman is just like he's like Charlize Theron. Like, you can't take him seriously until he puts on all that like Anthropophagus was like his monster.
Yeah.
Like
Yep. He's one of my
on and on about George Eastman.
He's one of my favorite interviews too, because he hates everything he's ever done. So like in the D'Amato Uncut, he says like he never shot a single good shot in his entire career. He never did anything that meant anything. And it's like one of his best friends. Like, nothing he did was good. It was all shit. He was a really good friend. Like, that's his quote in the beginning of the movie. And I'm like, wow, okay. But he did it. So.
Yeah. Well, he wrote stuff too. I mean, he's not proud of his monster movies that he wrote.
Or the movie he directed, Metamorphosis. Not happy with that either, which is pretty much The Fly, but about lizards. And Shout Factory owns it now. It's all right. You know, he wrote a lot of stuff, and he directed stuff, and he wrote Endgame, which we showed, which I really like. So
I thought that was a good movie.
Yeah. He said that mostly, like, for a lot of movies, he goes, yeah, I did that one because it was on my way to get coffee every day, so I figured I'd be in it. Like, in a couple of movies, he'll say stuff like that, or I gambled away all my money, and I needed to make some money, so I said, I'll be in that one. Okay. Like,
you could just invite yourself, and
had to be good, George, and he's like, no.
All he had to do was make a phone call and say he needed to work, and bam, there was the work.
There was the work. He was actually in there's one like in Italy, they put out these like Christmas movies that come out, you know, they're like for family movies. There's one about all these guys that get together once or twice a year to play cards, and it was like a huge movie in Italy, and he's in it, which is great because I'm like, oh, would this major audience eventually say, well, I should check out other George Eastman movies? And they get into Anthropophagus, and they're like, I probably shouldn't have watched that.
Did you ever see that reminds me of how like Daria Nicolodi was in a movie with Jack Lemmon.
Yeah.
Some like Italian movie. And I'm wondering if like anybody who watched that was like, I should check out this other movie she's in called Creepers.
This is my favorite question that's been asked.
I knew he wouldn't, because he's not, you know, because there's definitely a separation of church and state in those movies. But yeah, I was upset that they didn't at least shoot some convincing double or something, you know. It's like Greg Kinnear's butt in that movie where he played the guy from Hogan's Heroes. It's like, I heard it was a butt double, but I suspended disbelief and pretended I was enough that it was Greg Kinnear's butt.
Crane.
Yeah.
Like Bruce Willis's giant penis in Color of Night.
Yeah, but is that him or no?
We were talking about that with somebody on the show, how like, you know, I just don't think it's, I was never convinced that it's really him, because you never see it connected to his body. It's all like below the water. So it didn't necessarily have to be him.
So, you know, I actually was a big fan of Jane March, and I actually thought she was a pretty cool screen presence. And I remember I had a friend in LA who worked in some industry, I remember that he would come into contact with Jane March all the time, and I was like, wow, do you think like I could meet her? Do you think like we could cast her in a movie? Like, can we make an unofficial sequel to Color of Night and just tell her it's a different movie and then re-edit it or something?
It's like the American Psycho thing. You could totally do it, where it's like nobody knew that was a sequel until it was ready to come out.
Well, we were like talking about how we wanted to make a sequel to Showgirls, and I was like, well, Elizabeth Berkley will never go for that. And we were like, you know what we could do is just every time she says her name, have her turn her back to the camera so we can just dub in Nomi later and like and just like make a secret sequel to Showgirls with her.
I love that. I love any sequels that are just like, this is barely a sequel. Those are the ones I probably like the most.
Well, yeah, and like you were saying about American Psycho 2, where it was like this completely different movie, and then they're like, hey, let's just shoot it's Lionsgate, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
And so they were just like, okay, well, we have the rights to this other, let's just try to like shoehorn it into like this, let's create a franchise.
Yeah. Where one does not exist.
Right.
Poison Ivy did the same thing. They made like 3 Poison Ivy movies, and they're like, yeah, fuck it. They did it.
And it's funny too, because I always thought Poison Ivy seemed like a real B movie, and I was always kind of shocked that it got like, Independent Spirit nominations and stuff. Because I was like, it's just kind of a B movie. But then by the time like part 3 came along, I was like, oh no, part 1 is like Sundance gold. Like part 1 is a perfect film compared to this ridiculousness that is coming out now.
There was this weird trend then of like movies where young Lolita characters were evil, like Swim Fan. Do you know what I mean? And Poison Ivy.
The Crush.
Rush. Yeah, we're like, I think old white men were like, this is something's going to bite us in the ass in 20 years. We better get these movies out of our system. But like you said, there's also all the what do you call it? The movies where we talked about the one actor that can control Sharon Stone in movies.
Oh, James Woods.
James Woods, yeah. Movies where he can control her, and or movies where Michael Douglas is an asshole to all women except for the one woman that brings them down.
Yeah,
or he's a good guy, or a good guy, and Demi Moore can get to him.
Right. But there was that like little string of, so it was like in The Specialist, Sharon Stone is like an ice cold bitch who's like can kick anyone's ass except for James Woods, who inexplicably is able to control her.
Yeah.
And then in Casino, she's like, in control of everything except for James Woods, who could like reduce her to tears. And it's like, I don't know why James Woods was like the only man who could kick Sharon Stone's ass there for like 95 to 97.
He's the Sharon Stone whisperer.
Right, he totally is.
He got typecast.
Yeah.
So look at this ad that I ran on Groovy Doom this week.
Oh,
I had to bring this out into the light.
Oh,
actually, I didn't run this on the page. Maybe I did. I think I did. Anyway, Something Creeping in the Dark, starring Farley Granger.
Yeah. A movie there's a version of it that has adult inserts.
I was going to ask you about that. I had heard that.
Yeah.
Penetration or whatever.
Yeah.
That is the limit. Penetration.
Yep.
We can't have that.
There's a version of 99 Women with it too, and Bruno Mattei shot the inserts for a Jess Franco movie. It's like fucking Superman and Batman teaming up to fight Galactus.
Anyway, this is from 1979, and the other 2 movies, The Hex Massacre.
Yeah.
Do either of you know which movie that is?
No, but I know that they ripped off Black Sabbath's artwork behind, or Black Sunday's artwork.
Yeah.
The Hex Massacre is actually Who Can Kill a Child.
Oh, yeah.
Wally,
what is Lucifer's Curse? Oh, Lucifer's Curse is Holocaust 3000, right?
2000.
Yeah.
Holocaust 2000. Holocaust 3000 was the sequel. Remember that last Holocaust? That was nothing compared to this. This is Holocaust 3000.
Right.
It's a little better. Tracy brought up Showgirls too. Mike, you worked on that, didn't you?
I was the assistant editor, and I had a small part.
Yeah.
It was a fun movie to make. It was just all of Rena's, like at that point it was Rena was, she was managing an apartment building in Hollywood, and so she didn't really have to work, and she just had all these like out of work actor friends and like weird like reality show junkies and horror hosts and all these like random bizarre people. And then she's just like, okay, I want you to be in my movie. It's a sequel to Showgirls. Okay, we're gonna have a party scene. You play a stripper. Okay, go.
And also, Tracy referred to it as shot on video garbage. I have to tell you, Bill and I have been making a lot of fun with shot of video garbage. We've kind of turned that into a side career. So shot on video garbage is our bread and butter.
Everything's shot at. It's funny now. It's like I had some friends who made a movie called Chastity Bites, and they spent so much money on it because they shot it on 16 millimeter. And they're like, we want to go back to the roots of filmmaking. We want to shoot on 16 millimeter. And it just ended up looking like it was shot on a red.
Yeah.
Because they never struck film prints from it. Like if they would have blown it up to 35 or something, it would have had that 16, what we think of as a 16 millimeter. But because they just took the 16 millimeter negative and telecined it and then sent it straight to streaming, it just looked like video.
It's funny because LA Age Jabber, which is the next one that's out from Visual Vengeance, it was originally 35 millimeter and the camera broke. So they had the video assist there, and it was one of the few days they could shoot. So they just used the video assist to shoot it as shot on video. And it was, and he said, when I talked to the director today, he goes, it's probably a good thing because if I had made it 35 millimeter, nobody would care about it. But the fact that it's shot on video, there's this weird audience of, you referred to maniacs like you, he said to me, that care about it a little more because it was shot on video and put into video stores.
Do you remember that terrible version of Night of the Living Dead that had additional footage shot by John Russo?
No.
This has been the week of shit on John Russo.
Well, no, I don't. I really don't want to shit on John Russo, but that was not good. I mean,
no, it's not good.
Though
the book version you and I talked about the other day, the book version of Return of the Living Dead, I would 100% watch that movie. The cult of people that that need to stake people's heads so they don't turn into zombies. I 100% would watch that.
Well, the version that they shot new footage for Night of the Living Dead was like in '99, the Millennium Edition or something they called it. It was Anchor Bay put it out, and John cut a bunch of stuff out of the original movie, which of course that right away is blasphemy. But he shot all this new stuff, and I remember reading about it. I forget who did a story on it, and he was talking about how they made it. He's like, we're using the exact same equipment that we used to shoot Night of the Living Dead. So it should look seamless. Between the two movies, I was like, are you kidding me? And the new footage shot on the original equipment just looked like shot on video stuff.
I'm going to say that it was probably shot on video because that's around the same time he did Midnight 2 and Santa Claus. This is his whole thing around that time.
Well, it didn't match the original footage because they took it straight from whatever they shot it on and stuck it onto that video. They didn't blow it up, or it wasn't degraded at all or anything like that.
Yeah,
it looks real clean by comparison to the other scenes.
That's how we're used to seeing Night of the Living Dead. I mean, I know it's all fixed up now, and I'm glad there's a beautiful scan of it and everything. I want that for films, but I also like them the way that they look when they're all scratched up. I found a great scratched up grindhouse style print of Shriek of the Mutilated on YouTube this week, and I know we just got the beautiful Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray. Love it, but I also love seeing all those scratches and damaged parts of the film. I think that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys have? I've started doing this sometimes as like as comfort food or whatever. I'll just go on YouTube and I'll find like they'll have the showing of Cheerleaders Wild Weekend on USA Up All Night, and it's including the commercials and everything.
Yeah.
And I'll just throw that on and just be like, okay, let's just pretend it's like 1991. And this is like what's playing on TV, and this is, and like, and it's like Cheerleaders Wild Weekend or Hots or something fun like that. And I'm watching like these old commercials, and it's sort of interesting to watch old commercials like from when I was a kid, and like how I was like, like you're watching these old like Michelob beer commercials, and I'm like, that's really what I thought being an adult would be like. Like I thought that I would live in a city that I was always walking through like rain-slicked alleys, and there would be blinking neon signs, and I'd go into bars with like pool tables and like, you know, be wearing a leather jacket and drinking, you know, Michelob beer and stuff. And it just, yeah. And they'd be playing Steve Winwood. It never turned out like that.
They sold you the dream.
They sold me a dream, and it was very dated. And it was like, it didn't occur to me in 1989 or 1990 that my adult life wouldn't exactly be like in 1989. That, like, it would be a different era.
Now back to Hard Bodies on USA Up All Night.
Right. I love how USA Up All Night would take like these sexy ass movies and then cut them down to like G-rated versions, and then yeah. But it's funny too, because like if you take all the boobs out of Hots is basically a kids movie.
Yeah,
it's a bunch of adults acting like children, and the only thing that makes it inappropriate is, I guess, nudity. But I mean, if we were in Europe, it wouldn't be a problem.
Hard Bodies, like it's like a bunch of old guys need a young guy's help to feel young again. Like, you know what I mean? It would take out the boobs. He's just really trying to get them laid, but in the PG version, it's a little different.
You know what I saw recently, and it was terrible, and it was funny because I'm friends with Bill Sachs, and I was like, I'm gonna watch Hot Chili. And then I watched it, and I was like, he's like, what did you think? And I was like, and he's like, yeah, I fucking hate that movie. And I was like, God, is it bad?
Yeah, it's Menahem Golan was like beating the fuck out of him about that movie because he was obsessed with that movie. Because he also made it again as Hot Resort. They're both the same movie, and they came out within like 3 months of each other.
Yes, I thought I knew what the night can do, but I'm not so sure anymore. The Menahem Golan was like obsessed with like kids losing their virginity and coming of age. And then we were talking about this, and they're like every movie that it always has like a sexy music teacher or something.
Yeah, I think he lost his virginity to a. You said when you've seen enough movies from a producer where you can point to all of their quirks, and I think
right, and you know that, yeah. It's like how Tarantino likes feet.
Yeah.
Menahem Golan is like got a real boner for like women and cellos or something.
It's women and cellos, and there's always a scene where there's like a loose woman and everybody's taking turns with her. Because this happens in Lemon Popsicle and Last American Virgin, which is the remake. But he did it in other movies too, where and then the heavy guy always goes last and gets caught by the guy, and then he runs out. You know what I mean? It's the same exact scene. It's in at least like 5 of his movies. So I think this happened to him, and he was the heavy kid. Do you know what I mean?
I live for the moments when the heavy set guy got caught.
Yeah. And but it seems like it happens, and it's funny because Lemon Popsicle was made like before Porky's, and there's a lot of Porky's in it, like the dick measuring and stuff like that. It's wild how close it is to that movie. Also, they were somehow able to get like 50 songs from the 50s and like do it in their budget. Maybe they thought, well, it's in Israel and no one's ever going to see it, you know?
I think that's what it was. And also like sometimes if the like whatever production company they were working with in Israel had also like maybe licensed all those songs to, you know, it's kind of like how they were able to use all those old songs in the movie Girls Night Out, because it was like, you license one and they're like, here's 10 additional ones to go with it.
It's
or something.
The K-Tel licensing theory.
Yeah.
Like, but wait, we'll give you 10 more. But that's the whole selling point for all the first like 3 Lemon Popsicle movies is like featuring 30 of your favorite songs. And it's like, wow, they're all over it. Yeah. Last American Virgin does it, and it has U2 in an abortion scene. How do you think U2 felt when they saw that movie and they're like, we're going to run I Will Follow over an abortion scene? A really religious song about a man trying to find God. They just put it over an abortion scene.
You know, I've been noticing this a lot, and I really hate it, is when they haven't been able, like, because the music rights were negotiated before DVDs existed, there's like a loophole that they have to renegotiate for DVDs. And then the music companies are like, no. And they have to redub stuff. And it's like, you know, and it even happens in like, I don't know, it's just like stupid things like in the movie Grease, like they have like Coca-Cola signs in the background that are blurred out because Coke didn't. And I'm like, you lost your right to have autonomy over your appearance in this movie. Like, this is already out there in the world. Like, you can't change that now.
What's like Alan Arkin said it was so hard to get Crazy out because there were so many songs on it. And he said, we didn't know about streaming and DVDs then, or even VHS really was in its infancy. He's like, so, we just got all these bands. And he goes, and that's why that movie wasn't out for so long. Heavy Metal is another one where Heavy Metal took forever to come out on DVD because they didn't have the rights figured out.
What's the movie that it can't be released because there's a Beatles song in it?
Oh.
Everybody wants it, and they're like, oh, if we could get it if it wasn't for that fucking Beatles song on the soundtrack. But I was hoping you guys would remember.
I do know there's The Astrologer, which has an entire Moody Blues album on it, and he tried to charge the Moody Blues for being in it. That's why that'll never come out.
That is the limit.
I love that. Where it's like that movie's awesome, by the way. Like, if more people could see that movie, it would be all people talked about. Like, it's an astounding, like, it's one of the most, like, I've seen a lot of really fucked up movies. I will say that's in the top 10 of fucked up movies I've ever seen. Like, it stopped Becca in her tracks. Like, she walked in and was like cleaning and looked at the screen, and she just sat down and just jaw open. She was like, what's going on with this movie? And I'm like, yeah, it's awesome. It's real good.
Here's one I ran on the page this week because I'm doing a series from London. And I found this gorgeous ad for Deathline.
Wow.
Which, of course, is
raw meat.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we did that on the show. And I remember looking for this ad in the newspaper listings. And I only found one that did not have these gorgeous graphics with it. And I thought that's all there was. Yeah, it's beautiful. I've since upped my London paper searching game, and I was able to find this.
London ads England ads are really fun.
Oh, a lot of times they're completely different from the ad campaign we're used to.
Yeah. Wow. I've never seen Night Hair Child.
Was that released here as something else?
It was released here as What the Peeper Saw.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Which, can anybody explain to me why it's called Night Hair Child? Please.
I think in its original language, it's probably like a direct translation, and like maybe in its original language, it makes more sense because it's in reference to like maybe a fairy tale or something. It's like when they translate like Japanese movies into English, and it's like long hair girl ghost. Oh shit.
That was amazing. Well, he's like, look at this.
You want to see what came in the mail this week, Bill?
Yes.
I got 3 movies in the mail, but I got one that I bought. I went to the horror movie flea market last Sunday, and I bought one thing.
We haven't talked about that since you went.
Yeah. It was actually fun. It was packed. Like, it's the most people I've ever seen at one. So we had to park about a mile away. But it was good. And I finally got the Inner Sanctum box set that Mill Creek put out, which I did not have, which I'm super excited about.
Is Mary in any of the movies?
No.
Mary, she was the one who hawked Lipton tea on the radio show.
I know. I've been listening to the radio programs, and I really love them.
Did you hear her on there?
Yeah.
She was obsessed with Lipton tea, and no matter what the topic of conversation was, she'd be like, Mr. Host, nobody wants to hear about that Eastern culture, although they do drink a lot of tea over there. And I wish that they could drink Lipton tea because I'd like to spread the light of Lipton all over the world.
Oh, man, I love when they work the ads like right in the beginning. I got this came from MVD Cinematographer. It's a documentary about different cinematographers from the 70s. So real excited about that. And Checkered Ninja, which is a cartoon that MVD sent. I have not seen yet. I do not know anything about it, but it's an R-rated cartoon. Looks like a kid's cartoon. It's not. And finally, perhaps most excitingly, from Synapse, Massacre at Central High Blu-ray. Super excited about this.
Is that Sexy Jeans?
It is Sexy Jeans, but it does not have the Sexy Jeans cut, which really makes me sad. But yeah, I'm real jazzed about having this on Blu-ray. I really like
Justice. Do you know that movie?
Massacre at Central High. Yes, I've never seen it though, but I read about it in the Danny Peary's cult movie book.
I think you would really like it. It's a movie that starts like as a geeks getting beat up thing, and then by the end, like it switches the good guys and the bad guys. It gets really weird. And
Isn't it very like Heather's like?
Heather's is definitely influenced by it, and Rainbow Smith's in it, which is amazing. She should be in every movie ever made.
Rainbow Smith.
But it's really good. So I'm really excited this came out. But yeah, it doesn't have the sexy jeans Italian cut, which has porn inserts as well. Which are shot during the day. And there's like a scene where people are like making out at night, and it cuts to a scene. Obviously, not the same people having sex at night. I mean, in the daytime, it's really wild. I'm going to open up and see if there's anything else in here, because the sexy jeans painting is really amazing. It's got a really great art. No, it doesn't. It just has the a catalog here for what's coming out from Synapse this year, and the Blu-ray. But super excited. I would definitely recommend this movie to everybody.
Also, thanks to everyone who left comments on our social media about our commentary on Suburban Sasquatch. That was nice of you to
thank you.
Check out that movie.
I forgot that we talked about my favorite film trope. Whenever you have to show a photo of somebody in a movie and use their publicity still. That's my all-time favorite one.
Or a production photo of them like when there was no camera present, like in Halloween 4, how they show like Laurie sitting with a pumpkin. It's like nobody took her picture in that scene. Like, why that this picture exists? Or
we as the audience were the only ones that could see that.
Or of course, like, you know, I think I know what you're talking about, like in Pieces, when like he's got a picture of his mom from the 40s and it's clearly like a headshot of the actress from 1980 or something. And it's like,
there's a great one in Larry Cohen's Wicked Stepmother when they talk about Lionel Stander's first wife was Joan Crawford. And it's literally 2 publicity stills of Joan because he's married to Betty Davis. And when they come back, and that, by the way, I watched that movie again, Bill. I've watched it a million times. That movie's fucking crazy. Like that, like why that movie exists, how it got made. Like there's so much nutty shit in that movie. I love it.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out what was happening the first time I saw that movie.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, where's Betty Davis?
Yeah, exactly. And Michael Greer did her voice, the ADR for her voice after that, which is wild.
Right. Yeah, because he does a great Betty Davis, or he did a great Betty Davis.
You cannot tell, because also the best part about that movie is Betty Davis gets put into a cat, and the cat smokes, and goddamn it if the cat doesn't look just like Betty Davis when the cat is smoking and it talks. There's a scene where the cat talks and has her voice, but it's Michael Greer's voice, and I'm like, this is why I was never on sneak previews, because I would scream, "This is cinema. This is what I'm looking for." You know? It's got some real crazy stuff in it, and it's got the girl from Octopussy in it too. So,
yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that one. Is that one of Larry Cohen's last directorial effort?
Yeah, made. It's very, very made for TV looking throughout. Yeah,
Larry Cohen. I always like tell people about this. Larry Cohen made this made-for-TV movie with Esther Roll, where she plays a sassy maid who's solving a murder mystery, and I like always tell people, you have to watch this. It was made like between It Lives Again and Q or something. He just like randomly worked in this. Like,
I love your obsession with this movie.
It's because it was, I loved it as a kid. And then when I found out years later it was Larry Cohen, I was like, oh, so I can actually tell people about it because I have a reason to tell them now because it's Larry Cohen. So
I really like Bone, the Larry Cohen movie too. I really dig that one. I actually like everything he did. I think he's like the master of not having any money, but having a really high concept and succeeding way more often than he fails. Like, you know, Wild and the God Told Me To is
stuff he's written. I really liked. I remember I really liked Cellular. I saw that like 20 times when it came out, and it was so much fun. Yeah,
The Ambulance is pretty good too that he wrote. I like that movie with Eric Roberts. It's pretty good. But yeah, Q is great. Q is one of the first movies I ever rented. So I remember watching it as a kid and being horrified when the head rolls in the beginning. Really dug it. So
Q's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know you're in for a good movie when it starts like that.
Yeah. It starts and you're like, whoa, this is how we're going to be. Like most
remember-
movies build up to this.
I remember my mom hated Return to Salem's Lot. She was really excited because she loved Salem's Lot. And when Return to Salem's Lot came out, she's like, this is awful. It's nothing like the original. And it's got that awful Michael Moriarty in it.
Oh, I love Michael. Also, it was a pilot for a series because that's why it ends the way it does, because that was going to be their, speaking of call back to the previous thing we talked about, series that came out, TV series that come out of bigger movies. Even I know Salem's Lot is a TV movie that, you know.
The original was going to be a TV series also.
Yeah. I would have loved that. It would have, as you've said to me before, Bill, it would have lasted 10 episodes and the last 4 would have aired only in Europe. And
yeah,
we talk about what would have been for years. It wouldn't have lasted.
I think that the TV remake of Carrie was a pilot for a series because she like survives at the end, and it was going to be like Quantum Leap, where she just goes from town to town, like using her powers to like help various people, like The Fugitive meets Quantum Leap or something.
Hi, I'm Carrie. I can move things.
I think that's the greatest idea ever. I would watch every week of that.
She could have started her own one-woman moving company. I can move things.
I can move. If I concentrate hard enough, I can move things like this couch.
If I think hard enough, all your furniture is going to end up in that truck out there.
How much would you comes flying out and hits a door?
I mean, how much would you charge if you could use telekinesis to load up a moving truck? How much would you charge? Because technically, you could charge as much as you want because you have this power that nobody else has. But then again, because you have this power, it's pretty much effortless for you. So should you be overcharging them?
Yeah, I think you could probably charge them a fair rate, but you'd be able to do so many more jobs in a single day than an ordinary person would. So you would make more money doing it that way. You just do more jobs.
There's less of a chance of you breaking things too, because you know, like 2 guys carrying a piano, the danger is high of breaking it versus you're able to just to glide it into the truck.
I guess it would depend on how steady your telekinetic grip was on an average item.
Yeah.
And if it wore you out, because I know on Stranger Things, when that little girl uses her powers, she'll get a nosebleed and like pass out. But having telekinesis didn't seem to phase Carrie. Like she never like was exhausted afterward or anything like that. Like it just sort of. So I think she could. I mean, because she would have to do something for a living eventually, unless if you had telekinesis, could you just make money float out of the bank and like land in your lap?
I want to see a commercial for her moving company with her mom just sitting in the background. Like, we'll laugh at you. And she's like, Mom, I'm trying to do a commercial.
Right. And the mom's just back there like, red. I should have known it would be red.
Carrie would be arrested because she'd be running a bank scam where her accomplice goes in, Tommy Ross, presumably, and causes a disruption. And while everyone's paying attention to him, she's floating the money out.
You know,
it's a connection to Badlands.
I feel like it would suck to have telekinesis because you would get blamed for literally everything. Like anytime that your friends like accidentally hit their head when they were standing up there, like, you did it. Yeah. You made this break. And it's like, I didn't, I promise.
It would be your cross the bear. Yeah. If you were telekinetic.
Yeah. Well, now, so Badlands, though, that was a period piece, right? Okay. Because I don't know. Yeah.
I think it's like the 50s. Yeah.
So that could be a prequel to Carrie, and that could be like Carrie's aunt or something, or her mom.
It's where she got her violent law ignoring tendencies, was from her ancestor.
My favorite thing about Carrie is whenever she's having her nervous breakdown in the beginning, and the gym teacher's like, I don't know how to deal with this. I'm just going to slap this girl as hard as I can. It's a very Italian Giallo hero thing to do to a woman.
Right. I know she was totally channeling like the dude in Strip Nude for Your Killer.
Yeah. It's like that one, I'll slap you and you're going to like it.
Well, it was very 70s. They were smoking. She was slapping students. Everybody was like, you know, drinking, underage drinking and being like completely shameless and fearless about it. Like,
yeah,
those were the days.
Yeah, it really was. And that prom.
Lee's going to bed. Should we be ending soon?
Lee is like yeah.
She's like, someone has to tell these guys they're running on too long.
We pick
Well,
one people in chat every week, and when that person says goodnight, that's when we say goodnight.
We should ask though, because you were mentioning about the prom. So in movies, people like in high schools, they would always have the prom like in the gymnasium. But everybody I've known who's ever gone to prom, they had it at a hotel. Like we had our prom at a hotel. And so did suburban or Midwestern high schools do the prom just at the gym? Or is that just like a movie trope?
We did the homecoming dances at the gym.
Yeah.
But prom went to a separate location.
Right.
Yeah,
they did a thing where like
too.
you went to my school and they did a thing where everybody walked in so the parents could watch, and then you got in cars and went to the next location and then went to another location. It was weird.
Yeah. I didn't go to my prom. It was like proms are like Las Vegas. It's like the most heterosexual thing on the planet, and I had no interest in it.
I went to my junior prom, my senior prom. My date got busted sleeping with a 50-year-old guy, and her parents wouldn't let her go to the prom. And I already bought her dress for her too.
Why didn't you tell them like, no, she's I'm clearly too young for her. She's safe.
Yeah, exactly. I was like,
Yeah.
oh. It's funny because I had a crush on this girl for like the entire duration of high school. And I finally got up here. She's like, hey, you should always ask me out. That's great. I'm like, wow, it's like finally happening. And then literally like 2 days before, she's like, yeah, so this kind of happened. And, you know. I'm like,
do you ever like look her up now? Like, is she like banging an 80-year-old or something?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I've kind of forgotten everything about anyone in my high school. You know what I mean? Like I've tried to really I only have so much memory in my head. It's like, do I need to remember the title of every Jess Franco movie or remember what happened to people in high school? Jess Franco won.
Where'd you go to high school, and were you close to
Elwood City, which is like a smaller town, like it's actually right next to Evans City where Night of the Living Dead was filmed.
Okay.
And Day of the Dead was filmed there too. Wampum, which is the next town over. In the salt mines in Wampum is where Day of the Dead was filmed.
I always get like every once in a great while, I'll get curious about people from high school and I'll look them up. And then, you know, because I live in this weird delusional world where I'm still like a teenager. Like I think I'm Stalker Channing in Grease. Like I'm like, sure, I could pass as a teenager. And then when I see people I went to high school with looking like their age, it freaks me out. And then I'm like, never mind.
My wife referred to somebody the other day. She's like, they're. Oh, it's funny because like so we've had a crazy week of animals, but she was outside smoking at 5 a.m. last Monday and felt something brush past her leg, and it was a cat just sitting on our porch, no tags or anything. And the cat seemed really old because it didn't want to leave. It just sat there. So we put a thing on Facebook, and it was somebody from about a half mile away. It was their cat. It was 22 years old, and it had run away.
22.
Yeah. Honey was her name. Really cute, older cat. And Rebecca, when they came and I went to Elwood to take care of my dad, and she said, "Oh, they came and picked him up," and she said they were an older couple, and then followed with, "They were about your age," and I was like, "Okay, thanks." She's much younger. She's 13 years, 14 years younger than me. So,
oh shit.
Yeah, it's weird. Like it's like I'll see people and like when we're out shopping.
Still talking.
You hear me?
You blanked out there for a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But
I feel the same way. Like I see people and they're out shopping and they have kids and they look really old and they're probably like 10 years younger than me. Do you know what I mean? And like you said, I feel like, oh, I'm young.
That's kind of like why I'm not really interested in keeping up with the Scream series as it progresses, because I'm like Nev Campbell's age, you know, like Skeet Ulrich, like I'm that generation. They also shot Scream in the town where I went to junior college in Santa Rosa. Mm-hmm. And so I really loved being part of that zeitgeist and feeling like, you know, and then I don't necessarily think consciously about how more and more like, as you get older, you get aged out of being like relevant until I watch something like Scream, where it's like all of a sudden it's like Nev Campbell is just this old bag who shows up for like a cameo. And I'm like, even in like, I remember when Scream 4 came out and I was like, this makes me feel so old. Like the original characters are so irrelevant and there's all these young kids that are in the movie. And now those young kids in Scream 4 are like 35.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, this is
hurts.
disappointing me. I'm like, I guess it's unrealistic to expect that a slasher series should keep featuring people in their 40s and 50s as the stars, but I don't,
It's an uncomfortable duality because we were talking about Halloween H20 earlier, and that movie has that same problem because there are two sets of characters, and the only ones that I care about are the older characters, but they shoehorn these kids into the movie because they have to appeal to that demographic.
Yeah.
The movie lives two lives.
Yeah.
What's like the 90210 reboots like that too, where it's like the characters that I watched are all the parents on it. And it's like, I don't want to see that. I don't care.
Yeah.
Well, so it's funny. So when you're young, like when we were young, there was all these like Gen X movies, and everybody who was our age was like the star of the movie, and like our generation was like the center of the universe. And then there's like a 30-year period where you're just playing like villains, bank robbers, or parents in movies featuring younger people. But then when you get to be old, suddenly you get to have movies about you again, like It's Complicated or Something's Gotta Give or Grumpy Old Men or Out to Sea or something, where it's like or like the movie Hitchcock, where like everybody in it is like over 50. So I'm sort of just waiting for that again. It's like right now I know that everyone my age in Hollywood is just going to be playing parents to younger people, but give it another 10, 15 years and suddenly we are going to be the stars of like old people get their mojo back movies.
The Sunshine Boys too.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's like, we're all, it's like, it's like moving to like a 55 and up community where suddenly it's like you're a teenager again because there's no kids around and everybody just has all the time in the world to just drink and fuck around with each other.
I told Becca that. So when I want to join the Elks down the street, because I'm like young in an Elks club, I'm fucking young. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm like blue chipper material. I'm 50 and I have a job. Like I'm like, I'll get in. And like she's like, I want to join an Elks club. And I'm like, we're gonna do it.
I think it would be fun.
Yeah. You can drink for a buck. You know what I mean? A beer is a buck there. I mean, that's awesome.
Oh, that's why people go to those things. I always wondered.
Yeah. And I can't join, like, the only other club in my town's like a Yugoslavian club, and I'm not Yugoslavian, so I can't go,
I went to Fred Olin Ray shot this really bad series for Here TV about gay vampires called The Lair. Yeah. And on the third season, Sybil Danning was like their special guest star, and I knew a bunch of people from The Lair, so I went to their wrap party for season 3, and it was at the Elks Club in Van Nuys where they shot scenes from Salem's Lot, and Sybil Danning was there, and she was like smoking cigars, and like I remember they could you could not smoke indoors anywhere in LA in any bar, but you could in this Elks Club because it was like the Elks code, like what happens at the Elks Club stays in the Elks Club and stuff. So it was kind of cool. It was sort of a kind of a Wild West. Like I would join an Elks Club, like they'll let you get away with shit in there.
Yeah, Becca's parents were in the Moose Lodge for a long time, and there's actually Moose retirement communities, and they're like full-time lodges, but in Florida, where it's like you live under Moose rules all the time, which would be pretty wild.
Is that like remember on the Flintstones, how like Fred Flintstone joined the like grad poobahs or whatever?
The water buffaloes.
Oh yeah,
the water buffaloes.
Water buffalo.
Right. Yeah,
that's just what you did, It dates back to prehistoric era,
and it's probably. And it's not like the Masons, like you don't have to like have a big shadow of like conspiracy guilt hanging over you or whatever.
I got a book about it, but down the street from our old house, there was a Prince Humbert Club, and I never knew what those were. And it was black guys weren't allowed into the Masonic lodges because, America's super racist for the longest time. So they formed their own club that like they literally stole the books from the Masons of all the rituals to come into there. So they had the Prince Humbert Club, and it's all based on Egyptian things versus Scottish rite. And they kind of just did their own thing. But there's a whole book, Big Secrets, that had the Mason like initiations. And my favorite one is they would blindfold you and tell you that you had to jump from your chair onto broken glass. and to see if you would do it, to see if you'd be a Mason. And basically, you just take potato chips and coat the floor with them. The person that hits them thinks it's glass when they land. It's a lot of like just weird stuff like that.
You have to, just walk on the nails, and I'll spit a leopard if
There's a lot of like electrified carpets that they sell, like the shock people and stuff like that. It's very school ties,
Okay.
There's like that's the other genre of movies of that era where it's like super racist, like the Skulls, School Ties. There's 3 Skull movies. What?
Black Circle Boys.
Black Circle Boys, yeah.
Yep.
Or it's like you want to get Avenging Force, not Avenging Force. It's the there's the Albert Payan one too. That's like that in high school with the Sentinels. Shit. Dangerously Close. The canon movie. Like it's like there's a secret society in a school, and they're super racist, but they outwardly don't seem it. And then one character from the wrong side of the tracks gets in, and he finds out, they're super racist. He steals one of their girlfriends. They're all the same fucking movie. But man, I've watched all of them. So.
And you're probably going to watch one tonight before you go to bed.
I definitely am going to watch one tonight before I go
Next
to bed.
weekend, we have 2 fantastic movies lined up.
Canon movies too. Yeah, Canon distributed Last Rites, Dracula, aka Dracula's Last Rites, and X-Ray, aka Hospital Massacre, is one of the first Golden Globus Canon produced movies. So super excited about that.
Me too. What were you going to say, Mike?
Brotherhood of Justice.
Yeah.
Brotherhood of Mike Justice.
Yeah.
Right.
Look for Mike. Did you see my video? We tried to get somebody to be in Stink Bug last night. Becca and I found a Stink Bug, and I tried to audition him for the movie. He would not be in it. I offered him a role.
So Bill, we were so I found a bunch of pictures of so I added Susan George on Facebook, and if she won't do our sequel to Tintorera, then we'll just do a graphic novel where we take pictures of her off Facebook and like put them into a story.
A photo novel.
Yeah.
We'll do a fake photo novel of this movie.
Well, I think she should be in Stink Bug too. I mean, if we're already getting, like, we should do like, the Roger Corman thing. Like, if we get her for one movie, we have some time left on her salary, we should like shoot some additional scenes and have her be in Stink Bug as well.
I think, would she be the same character in Stink Bug, where she would just be like, the stink bugs are attacking? She's like, let me tell you about Mexico.
Or we could do something else and make her be like her character from Straw Dogs or something. Like the stink bugs are attacking. She's like, let me tell you about the time I was raped in Cornwall. My husband, he was really nerdy and he killed everybody. It was kind of impressive.
Or the time I was in the back of his car.
Canon put that out as HBO Canon Video released that in the 80s.
What? First Straw Dogs?
Yeah, Canon did the video distribution for it.
So in Britain, they tried to ban Straw Dogs from video, and it was so funny the way that they were wording it, and they said, well, the movie is actually very good and it's very critically acclaimed, but on video, without being forced to watch the whole movie, people might fast forward to certain scenes, and out of context, they might enjoy those scenes without knowing what content. And it's like, just say you don't want people jerking off to the rape scene. Like, that's why you don't want to put it on. You don't want to put it on video, but they're trying to word it, and they're like, well, this is more for a cinema release because you should watch the whole movie and get everything in context.
What's to stop somebody from getting up and walking out of the cinema?
I don't know. Britain is weird. Like they had very like weird little laws about like censorship. Like you can't show blood and boobs in the same scene. And so that's why like a lot of movies would get censored, because they would have like what they term sexualized violence.
You can't show martial arts weapons either. Nunchucks.
Yeah, they have like banned nunchucks. They cut them out of Ninja Turtles and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Bruce Lee movies were like unseeable there for a long time.
When I was in London recently and I went to Piccadilly Circus and I was like, where's the porn theater from American World? Because it's totally gentrified now. I mean, Piccadilly, like London is like an even bougier New York, if you can imagine. Like everything is just super expensive and super highbrow. And it's like, they don't even notice if you're poor. They're like, what? You're not an OPEC oil minister? Well, you better figure out a way to eat something then. So there was Piccadilly Circus was very Times Square. It was very like polished up. There was nothing mangy. Like some of those ads that Bill was showing, they were like, you know, a horror movie showing across the street from Victoria Station. Like, not today. Across the street from Victoria Station is a Chipotle and you know, some other, like some really expensive like gift store that like you're not allowed to shop at, an Apple store or something.
Is anywhere
There's no
sleazy in
fabulous
London?
Yeah, there's sleazy parts of London, but they're not. They're I didn't go. I just went to like touristy shit.
There's no fabulous theater showing Thunderball like last night in Soho.
They have a place called Prince Charles Theater that was, but when I was there, it was like they were only showing movie. Like I was like, oh, I want to go to the Prince Charles Theater, and it was like they were showing a double feature of Salo and Neon Demon.
Whoa.
And I'm like, no, I don't want to hate my life today. I think and I was asking people, I was like, if you name a business after like a royal family member, do you have to get their permission? Like, did they have to ask Prince Charles if they could name this the Prince Charles Cinema, or was it just fair game because he's public, you know?
And
like,
could I just run the movies past him? Like, we're going to show a movie where kids are forced to eat shit.
Right.
Jolly good show. That sounds wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, would I be able to open like Princess Margaret Vape Shop or something if I was there? Because she's just, you know, you get free reign of like royal people's names. But yeah, so they had like the Prince Charles Cinema was sort of like their version of, there was like their retro theater, like their New Beverly in LA.
What's amazing is London had Canon theaters in the 80s. They bought a whole theater chain, and that's my dream, to have the carpet actually had the Canon logo as you walked in, and to have one of those carpet squares. Like it's like a dream. I'm sure they don't exist anymore because they got torn down, but yeah, I went to like there was when Andy Milligan went to Britain and made some movies, he was making them for this place called the Compton Cinema Club, and I went to go see if it was still there, and Compton Street is just like completely gentrified out. I mean, it's still supposed to be like avant-garde and gay, but like meaning that, you know, there's like a drag show or something. Like it's everything in London is just super bougie. Like they don't, it's not fun like it was back in the days when there was 10% unemployment and everybody was, you know, angry and you would get stabbed walking home. It's not fun like that anymore.
You didn't even see one flower girl.
No, no, they do have. It's funny because in America, you know, I feel like the class differences are more subtle. Like you have like college educated professionals, and then you have people who didn't go to college but are kind of middle class anyway, and then you have this, and then you have that, and then you have people who live in the bayou. And in England, you just have like complete trash or completely snotty people who won't speak to you. And it's like the two. So they didn't have any flower girls. They just had like people who would like, you know, stab you on the street, or people who refuse to speak to you.
Mike Justice, we are very happy that you were on the show with us this week. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah. It was fun.
And whatever you do, please watch out for that hand.
Oh no, I'm going to bed. Please tell me that hand isn't going to grab my ankle again.
You roll into bed, like you'll pull back the covers and it'll go.
It could be anywhere, a drawer, a shoebox, you don't know.
Do you believe that the hand exists?
Are you checking into a hotel until you kill that hand?
I'll be in this hotel until I destroy the hand. Anyway, bye. They're serving dinner.
All right. Take care to all of you out there still hanging with us. Thanks so much for watching the program. And we'll be back next weekend for 2 canon horror classics, X-Ray and Last Rites, on the Driving Asylum double feature.
Under 17 not attended without parents or guardians. Under 17 not admitted without parents or guardian.